we're here with an Ask the Agent session, and I'm here with Lacey from the Brooklyn Nest.
Hi, I'm Lacey Chidi from the Brooklyn Nest. I try to be the fearless leader. I'm the owner and studio manager.
Fab. And where are you guys based?
We're on the waterfront in Brooklyn, right in Williamsburg, so that's sort of hipster central, which keeps it fun. We love our studio. There's a really great view, and we make sure everybody comes in sometimes to keep it social, which I think is really important to a studio, is keeping it all really social and making sure everybody is friends.
Brilliant. Okay, so we're going to get stuck straight in. Could you just tell us what a typical day looks like for you?
Sure. Usually I get a million emails really early. So I tackle that before I go to the studio. And then we really do whatever we have to do to support our salespeople. And they're going to dictate most of the day. If they have appointments coming in, then the first thing we do is figure out what we need to print out. Things really do sell better when they're printed than if they're on an iPad or digital. I've tried to let go of that because wouldn't that be nice to not have to carry? But it just has not worked for us over the years. So then we just go into the hustle of printing out what we need for that day so that he can have his day, or whoever's doing the selling that day. And then whatever projects come in. Usually I have an entire day set in my mind, and it gets blown to pieces because a whole bunch of projects come in the day, and I'm not going to say no to those.
Yeah.
So I say yes, 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 yes. Okay, let's do it. Now we just have to figure out how to make it happen. In addition to creating art and ideas of our own, we take a lot of custom work. A lot of projects. I think people think of us that way, so I love to continue it.
Yeah, oh, that's
I
really
want
cool.
to always think that way.
I guess it keeps you on your toes, keeps it interesting.
It does, and we learn a lot. Every time we take on a project, even if it's a slight departure, we're doing a million wedding invitations. That's not quite what we would normally do. You do learn something, and you learn some different trends in different areas. So, yeah, you got to keep yourself creatively fresh.
Okay, and keep open to new opportunities, I guess.
Yeah, and it also, yeah, exactly. And it also helps that if you are, coming up with your own ideas all day for a few weeks, I think a project really helps break that.
Yeah.
Someone might say, here, we're going to do some custom rolls of fabric for this client. Do you want it? The artists always say, oh, yes, I'm everybody gets stuck in things like, oh, I need a break from my own head.
Yeah. Fab, okay. So what would you say is the most rewarding part of your job?
Oh, that's a nice question. Actually, I really like delivering the positive feedback to the clients from the client, to the artists from the clients.
Okay.
When they gush, and I'm able to really say they loved it and get really specific about what the client said and why they loved it and tell the artist that, then they know I'm not just saying, oh, it's nice. Just they can, the more feedback I get from the client and I get to say it, then they know that it was really, really loved.
Yeah.
And if I can tell them what it's being used for, sometimes we don't always know, when something's purchased, what exactly it's going to be used for. That can completely change. But, that will really make someone excited. I'll be like, guess what? That's going to be on a bikini from a company you like. And they're like,
Oh,
that
that's
is
so cool.
so much fun.
Oh, I guess it's really nice as well, just as a confidence boost, as a designer, to hear exactly what people are loving about your work.
Yeah, definitely. And everybody always thinks that, everyone's just being nice and saying, oh, yeah, it's great. And a lot of people are, and everyone tries to be nice to each other. So when you can get that kind of really specific feedback and try to portray like, no, they loved it, it's great.
Yeah, keeps it really genuine. Oh, that's
Yeah.
wonderful. Okay, could you give us a bit of an insight into some of your favourite design jobs that you've had, any favourite projects?
Yes, there's a lot of jobs that we do that well, everybody probably knows this as an art studio. A lot of times we sort of don't exist. If you do licensing, you get to put your name on it. When you don't, you get to say you did it, but it's not really out there to the world. And unfortunately, some of those are my favorite projects. But One of mine was a rug design, and I
Okay.
love it. So yeah, pretty much all the rug designs. I just love the way that you have to design a rug with the combinations of the silk and wool.
Hmm.
So pretty.
Did you go and buy it?
Oh, good question. No, it was really, really tens of thousands of dollars.
Oh
No,
wow!
I was like, wow, that's beautiful.
I don't suppose you got a sample then.
Yeah, I
Really? No way.
little
Oh, a little
one.
swatch.
Yeah, like that. I don't have that in my house. But it's beautiful.
That would be good.
Yeah, and that's sometimes the custom projects that come in that can be even more exciting than the things that come from your own head, because I would not have thought of that project on my own.
Hmm.
You know, it
That's
had
really
to be
interesting.
from a client telling
Yeah.
me to do something that I was like, wow, okay, that's a little bit of a departure from how I think, or that's a little more abstract, because my own art can be a little is not abstract. It's usually a little bit more realistic.
Yeah.
So that's nice when
Okay.
someone gives you a style and they're like, we like this style, and you're like, oh, and my own. Let me try that.
I think one of the things I liked about trade shows is the different ways that other people see your work or envision it. So you'll have one person saying, "Oh, you totally do, I don't know, stationery," and then somebody else is like, "Oh, you're definitely fabrics," and you're like, "Oh, well, actually, I hadn't thought about," or kids wear maybe, and you're like, "Oh yeah, I didn't see it until you mentioned it." It's quite interesting to see the other side of things.
Yeah, you're so right. I mean, there's clients that will walk by and go, "Oh no, oh your paper, sorry, we're not a paper studio." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" No, yeah, it is all in perception and imagination.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. It sounds like you get a nice variety of clients that you get to work with.
We do, and one of the main reasons we do that is we do a lot of travel.
Hmm.
So I think if you don't, maybe you don't have to have as much variety. You can really just target what you need. But there's no way I'm sending salespeople out into the world without having a big variety. So
Yeah.
if they're going to California, they don't just go see Papyrus. They're already there. They should go see all the fabric companies and the fashion
Yeah.
companies, to make it worth their time. And so we really do keep a big variety. We try.
Oh, well, I guess with all that travel as well, you're just open to seeing a lot more things.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
I sometimes still jump in on the travel. I don't have much time now because I'm always just running the studio, but I used to do it more.
Okay. Um, let's see, what else do we have for you? So we're gonna just move on to looking from the designer side of things. And obviously one of the things that designers often struggle with is kind of believing in their own talent and trying to place themselves. So I just wondered if you have any advice for anybody who's wondering if they are good enough to make it, if you want to put it in those kind of terms, and how they can, I guess, judge where they're at or develop more.
I do have a bunch of advice on that. Yeah, the first thing that pops in my mind is the Rise and Shine design. I think being part of community is huge.
Hmm.
There is no way you can know how good you are unless you are part of a community that's doing something similar to you.
Hmm.
Internships are also good. Any kind of projects that you can take on that are helping someone else in the industry, you'll see not just how good you are, but also how fast you are
Yeah.
is important.
Hmm.
And the more you can let go, and the faster you move, the more you'll really become you. It's not just about being fast to make money, because of course that helps, but whatever starts coming out of you when you move faster is really, really, really your style.
Hmm.
My own was a little girlier than I expected. No, I do these geos, but what comes naturally to you when you're moving at that pace is what's going to be the best. And without community, there really is no way to know how good you are. That's why I always try to get people to come to the studio. All of our interns, they have to be in house at least 3 days a week.
Hmm.
Otherwise, you keep designing, you'll be driving yourself crazy.
Yeah, in your little bubble.
Back, yeah, in a bubble. It's huge. Community is everything when it comes to knowing how good you are. And if it turns out that you find that you're not, maybe not as good, because that's not the right way to put it, but maybe not catching on to certain parts of the industry as well as other people are, then augment that. If you don't have to be a surface designer in the traditional sense. You can also be in that industry and be a buyer, or work with other people's art and augment it, which has various names from CAD artist to just designer in itself. But there's a lot of ways to be in the industry and not just be drawing only. In fact, I think it's better to broaden yourself that way. We bring our interns into the sales meetings because it's happened before. They turned out to be very good at sales. And they're good artists, and they can continue to do that. But, if you're good at more than one thing, even better.
Yeah. That's a really interesting way of putting it. I've never heard it put that way about when you're moving fast, what naturally comes out of you. I guess it's like when you let go, what naturally flows from you. That's kind of essentially who you are and what you do when you're not thinking about it and being too conscious.
Yes, yeah, and you don't fight it. I fought it. I remember fighting it. I remember thinking that I don't know, I was like, no, I want to be cooler than that. I don't even like pink. Yeah, that went out the window because my art looked that way. I started to realize, oh, this looks actually really good. Maybe this is me. That, and when you're moving at that pace, it helps you to detach. In the beginning, I think, especially if it has a face, if you make a character, like a cute puppy print, oh, it's like gutting to give it up. You're like, I have to sell this, and then it's not, I can't do whatever I want with it. And it is good to just say, I know I love this print. Best to just keep moving quickly. Try not to look it in the eyes and fall in love with it too much. And keep moving.
Yeah, that's really good advice, because you can get so precious and overprotective about your work to the point that somebody could be offering you good money for something, but you don't actually want to let it go. And I think that's a real kind of concern that you have, or even just the fear that you might not make something that good again.
That's everyone's fear. I think everyone goes through that. No matter how long you've been in this business, I think everyone feels exactly that.
Yeah, it's good to know.
What if I never make a puppy? Is this puppy? And you absolutely will. It's hard to convince somebody of that, especially when they're new to the business. I'm like, I promise you will. You will blow your mind. You may always look back and say, hey, that puppy was great. But will definitely make something better.
Yeah.
And your portfolio, if you come and interview to a studio or any kind of job that's a smaller portfolio but everything's awesome, it doesn't matter how awesome it is. I'm not going to hire somebody that has 12 pieces in a portfolio and they're all perfect. There's going to have to be a lot more imperfect ones. They don't have to all be perfect, but I want to see more work so that I know that someone's not going to get stuck.
Okay.
It's important to have lots and lots and lots in there.
Okay. Do you tend to look at people's online portfolios, or how do you go about finding different designers, or do they come to you?
Sometimes they come to me. I wish they would even more often. I do look at online portfolios. I think that it's a little hard, and we have the same issues as an art studio, where when you see something digitally, whether they've emailed it to you or you just, found it yourself, you're in the middle of your day, and you might bookmark it, make notes to remember how great it was. And sometimes, other things happen, and then you're more likely to remember the person you met in person. It really helps. So actually at trade shows, I always encourage people to bring their portfolios and really walk the show and show them to studios.
Shh, don't say that. Gonna get people kicked out of the shows.
Oh no, you can. It's usually the very end of the show.
Oh, okay.
There actually is this like fine print in the shows that you are allowed to do it.
Wow.
And
Okay.
You will get kicked out if you go at the first day of the show, middle of the day. That is a no-no. You are not supposed to do that. I have to double check it for Surtex, but people always do it, and it should be the last 3 hours of the last day. Yeah. Typically.
Okay.
Or you should take the cards of all the people you met, at least shake their hand and say, I'm not going to bother you. I mean, people are spending tens of thousands of dollars for those booths. I'm not going to bother you right now. I just want to introduce myself. And then you're able to follow up with an email later and say, I met you, at Surtex or Blueprint or Print Source. It was nice to meet you. I mentioned that I'd show you my portfolio later. All of that works. Anytime you've met someone in person, it's always better.
Okay. Okay, very good advice, thank you. And we'll all be like going through the Certex terms and
Yeah.
conditions with a fine tooth comb now.
Even, yeah, I can't even remember if it's still in there, but you really can towards the end of the show because it's just sort of understood that at the end of the show
Yeah.
it's acceptable.
Yeah, and like if you like you say you're being respectful to people and you're just like I won't bother you, I won't take up your time, but hi, then that's all
Yeah,
good.
because
Okay.
they're there to sell.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Don't stand in front of the booth and speak to people for hours on end. They will move you along.
Same thing shopping. I go around, at the shows and I try to find artists that might want to join us, including studios, not just artists.
Hmm.
We'll bring studios in as a capsule,
Okay.
and then they still keep their brand underneath us, and we'll represent them if we're hitting the road because it's very expensive to travel,
Hmm.
and it's expensive to do trade shows,
Yeah.
and it's hard to get these jobs, if someone needs to do a custom work. So I'll represent them, and then if a job comes along and I don't have someone that's right for it, or really someone in the other studio that wants to work with us is better, of course I'm going to give it
Hmm.
to them. And it's always keeping things moving.
Hmm.
So I always do shop for artists.
That's good to know as well, and I'm sure other studios and agencies, I'm sure they do that as well. I mean, you'd be daft not
Yeah,
to.
you have to.
Okay. Let's see. What can I ask you next? Thinking about inspiration and trends. How important do you think it is for designers to follow trends versus kind of sticking to their own unique style?
I think the most important part for trends for an artist is color.
Okay.
You can do any style you want as long as the color is trendy and fresh.
Mhm.
And the nice thing about that is it's going to keep. I mean, if you think of how many hundreds and thousands of designs buyers see, especially at a
Mhm.
show. If the colors are same old thing, they're not even going to look for very long.
Yeah.
And you can even have a really vintage looking floral and pop it up with like mint greens and
Mhm.
all these sort of like gold colors and coral and make it look new,
Yeah.
and that will get people's attention. So I don't think it's style as much as color, in my opinion. I mean, you want to, depends how fast you are. Do you want to take your time and make a llama because they're trendy?
Mhm.
You could, because they are trendy, and that will show that you're trendy, but maybe you're not that good at making llamas. Everybody's different.
Yeah.
You can make a new trendy icon, and that's great. There's always a risk it won't sell because it's trendy.
Mhm.
So you might have to let it go and think that it's a portfolio piece or something that's fun and showcases that you are on the pulse.
Mhm.
But don't be upset when something super trendy doesn't sell because
Yeah.
trends move. Color, though, you can always change, especially
Mhm.
if it's an illustrator. Pop the color and it's fresh.
Yeah. Okay, so would you advise artists and designers to kind of mix in a little bit of trendy items, but as you say, think of it as more of a showpiece just to show that you've got that versatility, or do you think it's more important to try and have maybe a tailored portfolio to certain clients, or just show just variety, variety, variety?
I usually think variety is the
Mhm.
best way. You might have a client in mind that is who you think that you fit with. You may say, and there's a lot of artists that think like I'm perfect for anthropology, for example. They have a vibe and a
Mhm.
style, and that's not who ends up buying your things.
Yeah.
So if try not to think that way, that you know what your style is, and do whatever you can to make a variety. It's good to have a style because it will make you stand out, but it doesn't have to be your whole portfolio.
Mhm. Okay. Um Is there any kind of traits in particular that you like to see in a designer? So beyond the actual designs, I guess.
Yes. The clients have. And that's one of the reasons that the clients like to work with us too. It is being nice.
Mhm.
I mean, everybody might think they're nice, but really, truly, truly caring about the client's project and making sure that they understand that, and making yourself, whether it's with a studio or a client, making yourself feel like you're part of their team. You are essentially an out of house art department for them.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's for a day or a month or a year is your relationship, you are part of what they're doing. So it has to be like, it has to feel like teamwork and not like combative of, okay, well, I'll make this way because you told me to, or make this change, and have your backup. If you have your backup, then they're going to get their backup and there's going to be tension. You just make friends.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's better for everybody.
Good advice just for life, I think.
Right? And there's so many talented people. I mean, we're in New York City where there's no shortage of talented people. And the whole, everybody's heard this about New York. It's who you know. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm sure lots of cities that applies to, but they'll all say, well, you know, if you make it in the city, it's who you know, which sounds so evil. It's not really. There's just so many people here.
Yeah.
The most talented person could be, you know, a few feet away from me, and I don't know it. But the person that I connect with is the person I'm going to hire.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's true. It's life. That's how it works. Okay. And what shows are you guys going to be doing in 2017? It will be.
We're going to do Print Source in January, Blueprint in May, also Surtex in May. We're probably going to go to the Germany shows, the Paper World, and yeah, we're still working that one out. Other shows we're probably not going to have booths, but we're going to attend.
Okay.
There's so many nice shows in Paris and that I want to go to.
Yeah. Are you going to try and come to, I mean, it's the smaller show, but Brand License in Europe?
I've been thinking about that. I think we're just going to go to the show. I haven't heard a lot about booths there.
Okay.
So, but you don't always need a booth. You can just go and meet everybody and make your connections and then follow up. So, I mean, the shows where you definitely need a booth, Print Source, Surtex, Blueprint. No one has time to, you know, really make sales outside of those shows.
Yeah. And do you adapt the content that you have for each of these shows?
Yes, we do. January we sort of throw everything at it. It's the start of the year. It's a good time to try everything new that you want to, and just go for it. Surtex and Blueprint, we get a little more paper heavy than fabric.
Okay.
For our styles and our looks. Then August Print Source, we go completely the other direction, and we do mostly our favorite fabric looks and baby designs. And then that also gets dictated just by what the clients need at certain times of year.
Okay. And how do you tend to actually display your work at the shows?
We have 2.5 bags that are gigantic, full of printouts. They're like 70 pounds each. Really heavy. So we have everything printed out. Large format, but not so large that you can't carry it. And we don't print on paper, on fabric. We print only on paper, even if it's a fabric design, just so everything's consistent. And that way, a fabric buyer might buy from the paper portfolio, and the paper buyer might buy from the fabric portfolio. It often happens.
Okay, yeah, that's a good idea.
Turn anybody off.
Yeah. And how do you organise it? Do you do it by categories or by artist, or how do you handle that?
We do it by categories. We do have it organized by artists for certain clients, and certainly if you want to do licensing, you can do it by artists. But our buyers usually at the trade shows are asking for category. Okay. So we might organize it differently for a trade show than we would for a meeting with certain clients. But it would be everything from birthday to baby to home decor to Christmas, and they're separated like that.
Okay. Brill. I have gone through all of my questions, which is fantastic, and a few extra sneaky ones that I put in there, so apologies for catching you off guard with that. But I'm sure that there might be a few other questions that people have for you. So if you just want to tell people where they can find you on social media, and then I'll encourage people to just drop by and say hi and follow you guys over there as well.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, we're on Instagram. We're the Brooklyn Nest, and you can always email me at Lacey@thebrooklynnest.com, LACEY.
Okay, I'll add all of this to the post below so people can find it easily. Thank you so much for your time. I know that you're super busy, but it's been a pleasure.
In spring?
What did you say? Sorry.
Will I see you in spring?
You will. You won't get rid of me in spring. I'm going to be coming down. I'm going to turn up with my laptop to the office.
Please do. We'll have a party on the top floor.
Yeah, I really will. Okay. Well, thanks again.
Oh yeah, thank you so much.
Okay. Bye.